Before we begin, answer this. What would you sacrifice to save innocent children? Your freedom? Your reputation? And your life? This is the moment Tanesha discovered that the war she thought she'd won was only the beginning. That the enemy she defeated was just a pawn in someone else's game. And that the children she'd sworn to protect were marked for death before she even opened her foundation's doors. See this face? This is Marcus Voss. The man who spent 7 years in an American prison planning the perfect revenge. And this ring? This was supposed to be on Tanesha's finger. Instead, it's covered in blood. In 48 hours, Seoul will witness the deadliest hostage crisis in its history. And the only person who can stop it is the woman they're calling a terrorist. Welcome back to the story of the dragon and his queen. Where the victory was only an intermission. Where love isn't flowers and sunsets. It's watching your soulmate choose between you and innocent lives. This is part 2, when the maid becomes the queen, and the dragon learns that some crowns are made of thorns. Stay with me, because what you're about to witness will make part 1 look like a warm-up. You thought Cruz was the villain? He was just the opening act. You thought Tanesha could leave her violent past behind? It's about to crash into her present with the force of a freight train. This is a story about the price of justice, the cost of mercy, and the terrible truth that sometimes the people we save plant the seeds of our destruction. It's about international conspiracies, calculated revenge, and the moment when a woman who spent her life hiding in the shadows must step into the light and claim a throne she never wanted. In part 1, Tanesha saved the dragon. In part 2, she'll have to decide. Does she save him again, or does she save the 20 children sleeping peacefully in her foundation tonight? Children who don't know they're already pawns in a game that started 7 years ago in Atlanta, Georgia? But here's the twist, she won't be fighting alone. Because when Park goes down, Tanesha doesn't just pick up his sword, she picks up his crown. The maid is gone. The Queen of Shadows is rising. And Seoul is about to learn that the most dangerous person in the underworld isn't the one who rules from a throne, it's the one who fights from the darkness. Welcome back. Hit that subscribe button, because you're going to want to see how this ends. Drop a comment and tell me, if you had to choose between one person you love or 20 innocent children, what would you do? There's no right answer, only impossible choices. Let me tell you about the night Tanesha's world caught fire, the moment Park's heart stopped beating, and the second a woman who cleaned floors became the queen who would burn the city down to protect what she loves. 6 months of peace have transformed both Tanesha and Park. She wears an elegant navy dress, her foundation thriving with 20 happy children. Park, now a legitimate businessman, has planned this moment for weeks. As classical music plays softly, he reaches into his jacket for the ring box. Tanesha, you saved my life. Now let me spend the rest of it. A red laser dot appears on his chest. Tanesha's instincts scream. She tackles Park just as a high-caliber bullet shatters his wine glass and embeds in his chair's headrest. The romantic moment explodes into chaos as smoke grenades detonate across the rooftop. Through the haze emerge tactical figures in black. Not street thugs, but military-grade operators rappelling from helicopters. The ring box tumbles from Park's hand, bouncing across the floor as Tanesha drags him toward cover. This isn't a gang war. This is an execution. The peace is over. The war has begun. Tanesha's training kicks in instantly. She kills the lights, plunging the rooftop into darkness where her combat experience gives her the advantage. Using improvised weapons. A broken champagne bottle, her stiletto heels, a fallen attacker's tactical knife. She cuts through the smoke like a phantom. Park watches in stunned silence as the woman he loves transforms into something lethal and beautiful. She fights with surgical precision, each movement economical and devastating. She disarms one attacker and uses his weapon to cover their escape route. They descend through the building's emergency stairwell, Tanesha moving backwards, gun trained upward, professional and cold. Park realizes he's seeing a side of her she's kept hidden, not just a former federal agent, but a warrior forged in fire. They reach the underground garage where Park's armored vehicle waits. As they speed into Seoul's neon-lit streets, attackers in pursuit, Park grabs her hand. Who were they? Tanesha's face is grim, checking the rearview mirror. Ghosts from my past. And they're not here for you. They're here for me. They make it to Park's private safe house, a fortified penthouse with reinforced walls and multiple escape routes. Park's head of security, Dae-young, is already there with the old guard, Park's most loyal men. They swept for bugs and secured the perimeter. Tanesha begins to relax, thinking they're safe. Then Park staggers. His hand goes to his neck where the bullet grazed him, such a minor wound, barely bleeding. But his pupils dilate, and his breathing becomes labored. He collapses into Tanesha's arms, his body rigid, muscles seizing. Dae-young calls for the underground doctor, an elderly woman named Dr. Yoon who has served the Park clan for decades. She examines Park and her face turns ashen. The bullet was coated with a neurotoxin. I've seen this before, in military black ops cases. It's called Viper's Kiss. The poison is shutting down Park's nervous system. He's paralyzed, unable to speak, trapped in his own body. His eyes lock onto Tanesha's, filled not with fear for himself, but terror for her. Dr. Yoon delivers the death sentence. He has 48 hours before his heart stops. The antidote exists, but it's controlled by whoever made this poison. Tanesha recognizes the signature immediately. Her hands shake as realization crashes over her. The Vipers. Her old unit. They found her. Flashback to 7 years ago. Federal agent Tanesha Williams testifying in a packed Atlanta courtroom. She's younger, wearing a crisp FBI suit, her voice steady as she presents evidence against Marcus, the architect Voss, head of an international child trafficking ring. Her testimony is devastating, shipping manifests, recorded conversations, testimony from 19 rescued victims. Voss sits emotionless as the jury delivers guilty verdicts on all counts. As U.S. Marshals led him away in chains, Voss turns his head slowly. His eyes find Tanesha's, and his lips form words she'll never forget. I will find you. And I will take everything you love. Cut to 3 days later, FBI agents raiding the Voss compound in rural Georgia. Chaos erupts. Gunfire. Michael Voss, Marcus's 19-year-old son, panics and draws a weapon. Atlanta PD officers fire. Michael falls. In his federal holding cell, Marcus Voss watches the news footage of his son's body being carried away. His anguished scream echoes through the prison block. Cut back to present, Tanesha stares at Park's paralyzed body. The dead is being called. The monster she helped create 7 years ago has come to collect. Unable to sleep, Tanesha sits in Park's study reviewing security footage of the rooftop attack, analyzing tactical movements. At 3 a.m., the safe house's perimeter alert sounds, a drone delivery. No return address. Dae-young brings the package to Tanesha with explosive detection equipment confirming it's safe. Inside. A USB drive and a photograph. The photo shows a young man, Michael Voss, age 19, smiling at a family barbecue, with 3 words written on the back in blood-red ink, "You killed him." Tanesha's hands tremble as she plugs in the USB. The video opens with night vision footage of her foundation. All 20 children sleeping peacefully in their beds. The camera pans slowly, lovingly across each innocent face, Jin-soo clutching his teddy bear, little Soo-jin sucking her thumb, Min-soo curled in a ball. The timestamp reads, recorded tonight, 2:47 a.m. Impossible. The foundation has state-of-the-art security. But the camera angle is wrong, filmed from inside the ventilation system. Someone has been inside her sanctuary. The video cuts to black, then white text appears. You took my son. I'll take everything you love. The dragon dies in 48 hours. The children are already mine. Choose wisely. Tanesha runs to her laptop and checks the Foundation's live security feed. The children are there, safe, sleeping. But someone has been inside. Voss is playing with her, showing his reach, his power. The countdown has begun. At dawn, Tanesha makes an encrypted call to her old FBI contact in Atlanta, Agent Rodriguez, now Deputy Director. Rodriguez's voice is heavy with bad news. Marcus Voss was released from federal prison 2 weeks ago. Early parole for exceptional good behavior and cooperation with authorities. Tanesha is stunned. Voss never cooperated with anyone. He wouldn't give up a street dealer, let alone cooperate. Rodriguez agrees, something smells wrong. She digs deeper and discovers that Voss's parole was expedited by a federal judge with connections to international crime task forces. Someone with serious power wanted Voss out. The witness notification system shows the alert was sent to Tanesha's old Atlanta address, the apartment she abandoned when she fled to Seoul years ago. Voss has known her general location for at least 2 weeks. He's been watching, planning, positioning his pieces like the architect he is. Rodriguez warns, Tanesha, if he's after you, you need to come back to protective custody. We can, Tanesha cuts her off. He's already poisoned someone I love. He has surveillance on 20 children. I can't run. Not this time. She hangs up and stares at Park's paralyzed form. The 72-hour countdown isn't random, it's psychological warfare. Every hour that passes is another hour Park suffers, another hour Tanesha watches him die slowly. Voss wants her to break before he even makes his demands. News of Park's sudden illness spreads through Seoul's underworld like wildfire. Within hours, the High Council, the 5 most powerful crime bosses who acknowledged Park's supremacy in Part 1, demands an emergency meeting. They gather in a neutral location, an abandoned warehouse in Gangnam. Dae-young attends as Park's representative, but the council isn't satisfied. They want to see the dragon, to confirm he's still capable of ruling. When Dae-young can't produce Park, the room erupts. Rival bosses smell blood in the water. They begin discussing territory division, arguing over who gets Park's legitimate businesses, his ports, his political connections. Seoul is about to descend into gang warfare. Dae-young calls Tanesha in desperation. She's at the safe house with Park, holding his hand as his condition slowly deteriorates. She makes a decision that will change everything. She tells Dae-young, set up the meeting again. 2 hours. Tell them the dragon sent his voice. When Tanesha arrives at the warehouse, she's no longer wearing her Foundation director's professional suit. She wears Park's long black coat over tactical gear, her hair pulled back, her eyes cold and calculating. She walks into the smoke-filled room of dangerous men who have killed for less than being interrupted. She doesn't ask permission. She sits in Park's empty chair at the head of the table. The room goes silent. The queen has arrived. One of the bosses, a scarred veteran named Cheol, laughs mockingly. The dragon sends his secretary? His maid? We don't negotiate with servants. The other bosses join in, some amused, others insulted. Tanesha doesn't react. She places her phone on the table and taps the screen. Cheol's laughter dies as he hears his own voice, a recording of him discussing a planned betrayal of Park, planning to seize territory once the dragon fell. But that's not all. Tanesha has more. With surgical precision, she reveals she spent the last 6 hours hacking into each council member's financial records, communications, secret deals. On the screen, she displays real-time footage of offshore accounts being drained. I can restore everyone, Tanesha says calmly, or I can send it all to North Korean cybercriminals who will scatter it across the dark web. Your choice. The room is dead silent. She continues, the dragon is recovering. While he heals, you will answer to me. Not because I ask nicely. But because if any of you move against Park's territory, I will burn your empires to ash before breakfast. She stands, walks to Cheol, and leans close to his ear. Test me. Then she walks out, leaving the phone on the table still displaying their draining accounts. After she's gone, Dae-young quietly says, she wasn't his maid. She was his weapon. And now she's your queen. One by one, the bosses bow their heads. Not because they respect her, because they fear her. The Queen of Shadows has claimed her throne. Back at the safe house, Tanesha sits by Park's bedside, holding his paralyzed hand. She whispers apologies. For bringing this war to his door, for her past catching up to them, for the proposal he never got to finish. Park's finger twitches slightly, the only movement he can manage. It's his way of saying not your fault. Tanesha's secure phone rings. The number is blocked, but she knows who it is. She answers. The voice is smooth, educated, American, with a southern drawl that makes her skin crawl. Hello, Tanesha. 7 years, 3 months, and 14 days. That's how long I've been counting. How long I've been planning this moment. Marcus Voss. He tells her he's impressed by what she's built, the foundation, the partnership with Park, the life she's carved from nothing. You took everything from me, Voss continues, his voice eerily calm. My empire, my freedom, my son. So I'm going to take everything from you. Piece by piece. Person by person. Tanesha keeps her voice steady. What do you want, Marcus? Voss laughs. Want? I want Michael back. Since you can't give me that, I'll settle for watching you lose everything you love. Check your email. Now. She opens her laptop. A video file loads, Park being carried on a stretcher during the rooftop attack, then footage of the Foundation's children sleeping, then, her heart stops, current live footage of Minhee walking across the university campus, completely unaware of the 3 men following her at a distance. Beautiful girl, Voss purrs. She looks just like her mother. Be a shame if something happened to her. The line goes dead. Tanesha immediately calls Minhee, warning her to get to the safe house. While waiting for Minhee to arrive, Dae-young brings critical intelligence. He's been investigating how Voss could have orchestrated Park's framing so quickly and professionally. The fabricated weapons trafficking evidence against Park isn't just good, it's perfect. Shipping manifests, wire transfers, surveillance footage, all created with government-level access. Dae-young traced the digital fingerprint to a terminal inside the Seoul courthouse, specifically, Judge Kwan's office. Tanesha's mind races. Judge Kwan presided over Cruz's trial in Part 1. What if Cruz wasn't the mastermind? Dae-young digs deeper and uncovers a sealed file from 8 years ago. Investigative journalist Lee Ji-woo was murdered while investigating judicial corruption. Park was briefly suspected but cleared. The file shows Judge Kwan personally ensured Park's exoneration, not out of justice, but to protect himself. Kwan had ordered the hit on the journalist. Cruz discovered this and blackmailed Kwan, which explained Cruz's rapid rise to power. When Park was going soft in Part 1, he was actually getting close to exposing Kwan's corruption. Cruz framed Park to protect Kwan. Now Kwan is working with Voss to finish what Cruz started. The silent partner from Part 1 wasn't Cruz, it was always Judge Kwan. And now he's given Voss the legal infrastructure to destroy Park completely. The conspiracy runs deeper than anyone imagined. With 36 hours remaining before Park's heart stops, Tanesha receives another call from Voss. This time, there's no small talk. Minhee's face appears on her phone screen. She's bound to a chair in a dark room, duct tape over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Voss's face appears next to her. Time to make a choice, Tanesha. His demands are precise. Option 1, hold a press conference in 24 hours. Confess that you fabricated the evidence against Park in the Cruz case in Part 1. Admit you planted the video of Cruz, that you manufactured the entire conspiracy to seize Park's empire. Destroy your credibility. Destroy him. Option 2, I kill Minhee in 1 hour. Then I kill 1 child from your foundation every hour after that until all 20 are dead. Then Park dies from the poison. Option 3, do nothing. Be a hero. Let everyone die while you watch. The screen splits into 3, Minhee sobbing, the children sleeping peacefully in the foundation, Park paralyzed in his bed. You have 60 minutes to decide. And Tanesha? Don't bother trying to rescue anyone. I have eyes everywhere. The moment you move, people die. The call ends. Tanesha looks at the 3 faces on her phone. The man she loves. The daughter who trusted her. The 20 children who call her their guardian angel. And she knows that choosing is impossible. But she also knows she's not the same woman who cleaned floors and hid in shadows. She's the queen now. And queens don't choose between their people, they find the third option. The option where everyone lives and the enemy burns. Tanesha makes a decision, she refuses to choose. Instead, she assembles her team. First, she calls James Mitchell, a former MI6 operative she worked with during a joint operation in Berlin 5 years ago. Mitchell is now freelance, operating in Southeast Asia. I need someone who hates traffickers and loves impossible odds, she says. Mitchell arrives within 3 hours with 2 specialists. Yuki, a Japanese tech expert who can track digital footprints and break military-grade encryption, and Torres, a former Navy SEAL who specializes in hostage rescue and close-quarters combat. They set up a war room in the Foundation's basement, now evacuated the children who are hidden in secure locations with Park's loyalists. Next, Dae-young reveals his ace, Agent Sarah Park, no relation to Suksung Park. An Interpol investigator who's been suspicious about the weapons trafficking evidence from day 1. She secretly meets with Tanesha and provides the evidence trail connecting Judge Kwon to Voss. But she can't move against a sitting judge without concrete proof that will stand up in international court. The team now has 48 hours to 1. Find and rescue Minhee, 2. Locate the 20 children, 3. Obtain the antidote for Park, 4. Expose Judge Kwon, 5. Neutralize Voss. It's impossible. But Tanesha has learned something from Park. Impossible just means you haven't found the right strategy yet. The Queen of Shadows begins to plan. Yuki's tracking software picks up a signal from Minhee's phone near Incheon Port, the same location where Cruz operated in Part 1. With only minutes left on Voss's 1-hour deadline, they have no choice but to act. Tanesha, Torres, and a team of Park's elite guards race to the location in armored vehicles. They find an abandoned shipping container with heat signatures inside. Torres breaches the door with practiced precision. Inside, Minhee, bound but alive. But as Tanesha cuts her free, Minhee's eyes go wide with terror. She shakes her head frantically, unable to speak through the gag. Tanesha removes it, and Minhee screams, "It's a trap. Get out now." Tanesha sees red blinking lights lining the container's interior, C4 explosives wired to a pressure sensor. They have 10 seconds. Torres grabs Minhee and sprints. Tanesha dives through the doorway as the world explodes in fire and sound. The blast throws her 20 feet into a concrete barrier. Her ears ring, vision blurred, blood running from her temple. But they're alive. Torres shielded Minhee with his body, bruised but breathing. But the explosion triggered every alarm in the port. Within minutes, police and Interpol swarmed the area. Security cameras captured everything. Tanesha's phone buzzes with a message from Voss. Did you really think I wouldn't see you coming? 36 hours remain. Next time, people die. They barely escape, but the damage is done. The hunt is about to intensify. Security camera footage of the port explosion spreads across news networks within hours. The video is damning. It clearly shows Tanesha entering the shipping container moments before the massive explosion that killed 3 dock workers and injured a dozen others. The media narrative writes itself. Headlines scream, former U.S. federal agent turned terrorist, and American operative behind port attack. News anchors speculate about international espionage and domestic terrorism. The fact that Tanesha was trying to rescue Minhee doesn't matter, optics are everything, and she looks guilty. Interpol issues an international warrant for her arrest. Judge Kwan appears on television, gravely announcing that he's personally taking over the investigation to ensure justice prevails. He presents evidence linking Tanesha to the weapons trafficking charges against Park, suggesting a criminal conspiracy. Agent Sarah Park calls Tanesha's burner phone. You need to turn yourself in. I believe you're innocent, but right now, you're the most wanted person in Seoul. Let me bring you in legally. We can fight this the right way. But Tanesha knows there is no legal way, not when Judge Kwan controls the courts and Voss controls the evidence. If I turn myself in, Park dies, the children die, and Voss wins. I need time. Agent Park hesitates. I'll give you 24 hours. After that, I have to bring you in, or I lose my job. The line disconnects. Tanesha is now a fugitive in a city where half the police are hunting her and the other half are on Voss's payroll. The queen has become the prey. Yuki works through the night, breaking through encrypted communications, tracking financial transfers, and mapping Voss's network. At 3 a.m., she makes a breakthrough. The 20 children are being held in a shipping container at the port's eastern terminal, a different location from the trap. The digital signatures are genuine. This is real. The team mobilizes immediately. This is their chance to save the children and turn the tide. Tanesha assembles Park's remaining loyalists. 15 hardened men loyal to the dragon and now to his queen. Mitchell provides sniper overwatch from a nearby crane. Torres leads the breach team. They move under cover of darkness, using thermal imaging to identify targets. They breach the container and find them, 20 children sleeping peacefully, exactly as described in the surveillance footage. Tanesha's heart soars. They did it. They won. She moves to wake little Soo-jin, the first child, reaching out to gently touch her shoulder. The skin is too smooth. Too perfect. Too cold. It's not a child. It's a hyper-realistic doll, the kind used in military training exercises. All 20 children are sophisticated mannequins wired with motion sensors and C4 explosives. Torres realizes the trap a second too late, everybody out. The container erupts in a massive coordinated explosion that destroys half the terminal and sends a fireball into the night sky. 4 of Park's loyalists die instantly. Tanesha, Torres, and Mitchell barely escape through a gap in the blast radius. As they flee through the burning wreckage, Tanesha's phone buzzes. You're getting predictable, Tanesha. 24 hours left. Choose. V. With her face plastered across every news channel and facial recognition systems tracking her every movement, Tanesha can't return to any safe house. She's forced to go underground, literally. Seoul's subway maintenance tunnels become her refuge, a labyrinth of darkness where she, Torres, and Mitchell hide like rats. They're exhausted, injured, and running out of options. The city is in lockdown, roadblocks at every exit, police helicopters with searchlights sweeping the streets, checkpoints at every major intersection. Tanesha's old survival training kicks in. She knows how to disappear, but she can't stay hidden forever. Not with lives on the line. Meanwhile, in his Interpol holding cell, Park watches the news coverage on a small television. He's still paralyzed, unable to move anything but his eyes and one finger. He sees the explosion footage, sees Tanesha's face labeled as a terrorist, and knows she's being framed. But he's powerless to help. His lawyer visits with grim news. Judge Kwon has personally taken over Park's case and fast-tracked the trial for 1 week from now. Park understands, Kwon is buying time. If Tanesha is captured or killed before she can expose the conspiracy, Park will be convicted and disappear into an international prison. The dragon will finally fall, not by the sword, but by the slow death of legal bureaucracy. Park's finger taps Morse code on his bed rail, a message to himself, she will win. Trust the queen. Hiding in the subway tunnels, cold and desperate, Tanesha receives an encrypted message from Dr. Sarah Chen. Her closest friend, the Foundation's head counselor, the woman she trusted with everything. Chen's message offers hope, I can get you out. I have contacts in the South Korean Underground Railroad that smuggles North Korean defectors. They can move you to safe territory. Meet me at the Golden Phoenix Tea House in Insadong. Come alone. Trust me. Desperate and out of options, Tanesha agrees. But as they approach the meeting location, Mitchell's instincts flare. He's been in intelligence too long not to recognize a trap when he sees one. This feels wrong, he whispers. Too convenient. Too perfect. They watch from across the street as Dr. Chen enters the traditional Korean tea house. Then 3 men in dark suits follow her inside, and Tanesha recognizes one of them. The museum attacker from weeks ago, the one who swallowed the cyanide pill. Her blood runs cold. Chen isn't a rescuer. She's the bait. Worse, she's the leak. Tanesha's mind races backward through 6 months of memories, every security measure she discussed with Chen, every safe house location, every contingency plan. Chen knew it all. Chen reported it all. The Foundation wasn't infiltrated, it was compromised from the moment Chen was hired. Voss didn't find Tanesha by accident. He planted Chen 6 months ago, a sleeper agent, waiting for the perfect moment to activate. The betrayal cuts deeper than any knife. Tanesha trusted Chen with the children's lives. With her secrets. With her heart. And Chen sold her for 30 pieces of silver. Back in the tunnels, Yuki frantically scrubs through the Foundation's digital records. If Chen was a plant, there must be evidence. Encrypted emails, financial transfers, communication patterns. She finds it, coded messages between Chen and an IP address in international waters. Yuki traces the location to a massive luxury yacht called the Architect, Voss's nickname. Registered to a shell corporation in the Cayman Islands. The yacht has been anchored 50 nautical miles off the Korean coast for 3 weeks, just outside territorial waters where neither Korean nor international law can easily reach. That's where Voss is. That's where the children must be. But there's a problem. Getting to a yacht in international waters requires resources they don't have, a boat, weapons, intelligence on security measures. Torres studies the yacht's movement patterns and notices something interesting. Supply boats visit the yacht every 48 hours, and they all depart from the same place, an underground fight club in Busan that's a front for the Black Lotus Triad. The Triad controls smuggling routes and could get them onto one of those supply boats. But they need leverage. Tanesha makes a dangerous decision. We go to Busan. We get into the fight club. We win their respect the only way they understand, through blood. Mitchell protests, you're wanted by every cop in the country. Walking into a criminal haven is suicide. Tanesha's eyes are cold. The queen doesn't ask for favors. She takes what she needs. The underground fight club is exactly what it sounds like, a converted warehouse in Busan's industrial district where the city's most dangerous criminals gather to watch brutal no-rules combat. Tanesha, disguised with a wig and colored contacts, enters with Mitchell and Torres posing as her handlers. The air reeks of sweat, blood, and money. Fighters, men and women, battle in a cage while spectators place bets and drink expensive liquor. Tanesha needs to get into the VIP section where the triad leaders sit, but entry requires either an obscene amount of money or a fighter who can win. She chooses the latter. She registers to fight under an alias, the Shadow. The crowd laughs when they see her. She's smaller than most fighters, looks too refined, too pretty to survive. Her first opponent is a mountain of muscle named the Bull, a man who has killed 3 people in this very ring. The fight begins. The Bull charges like his nickname suggests, expecting to overwhelm her with brute force. But Tanesha doesn't fight like a brawler, she fights like a trained operative. She uses his momentum against him, targeting pressure points, joints, vulnerable areas. It's not pretty, it's surgical. Within 3 minutes, the Bull is on the ground, unconscious. The crowd erupts. Tanesha fights 2 more times that night, each victory more brutal than the last. By the 3rd fight, her knuckles are bloody, her lips split, but her eyes are alive with a dangerous fire. The VIP section takes notice. The triad leader, an elegant woman named Madame Choi, invites the Shadow to her table. Tanesha has earned her audience. Madame Choi is intrigued. She's seen many fighters, but few with Tanesha's precision. You're not here for money, Madame Choi observes, sipping expensive whiskey. You're here for something else. Tanesha doesn't waste time with lies. I need passage to a yacht in international waters. Your supply boats service it. Get me on one, and I'll owe you a favor. Madame Choi laughs. The architect's yacht? That's a death wish. Marcus Voss is one of my clients. Why would I help you reach him? Tanesha leans in close. Because Voss is using Seoul as a testing ground for a trafficking operation that will eventually compete with your routes. He's not your client, he's your future competitor. Help me kill him, and you eliminate a rival before he becomes a problem. Madame Choi considers this. And if I refuse? Tanesha smiles coldly. Then I'll burn your fight club to the ground, expose your operation to Interpol, and make sure the Black Lotus Triad knows you refuse to help the woman who's about to become the most powerful person in Seoul's underworld. It's a bold bluff, but Tanesha sells it with the confidence of someone who has nothing left to lose. Madame Choi studies her for a long moment, then extends her hand. You have courage. I respect that. You'll have your passage. But if you survive, you owe me. And the Black Lotus always collects. They shake hands. The Queen has her ship. Under cover of darkness, Tanesha, Torres, and Mitchell board a supply boat heading to the Architect. The boat is technically registered to a North Korean fishing cooperative, a front for Triad smuggling operations. The crew is told to ask no questions and look the other way. As they approach the yacht in the pre-dawn hours, Tanesha can see its massive size. It's not just a boat, it's a floating fortress. 3 decks, armed guards patrolling the rails, surveillance cameras covering every angle, satellite communications array on the roof. Getting inside will require precision, timing, and more than a little luck. The plan is simple but dangerous. Torres and Mitchell create a distraction by staging a medical emergency on the supply boat, drawing the yacht's security to the loading dock. While attention is diverted, Tanesha will swim underneath the yacht and infiltrate through the water intake system, a narrow passage designed for maintenance access, not human entry. She strips down to a wetsuit, straps a waterproof pack containing weapons and tools to her back, and slips into the freezing water. The sea is rough, waves pushing her against the yacht's hull. She fights the current, diving deep to find the intake grate. Using a specialized cutting tool, she removes the grate and pulls herself into a claustrophobic pipe barely wider than her shoulders. She crawls through the darkness, water up to her chest, for what feels like hours but is only minutes. Finally, she emerges in a mechanical room filled with generators and filtration equipment. She's inside the beast. Now the real hunt begins. Using night vision goggles, Tanesha navigates through the yacht's lower decks, avoiding guards and security cameras. The layout is a maze, deliberate design to confuse intruders. But Tanesha has spent her life in hostile environments. She moves like a ghost, using ventilation shafts and service corridors. Then she hears them, children's voices. Crying. Whimpering. Calling for help. The sound nearly breaks her. She descends a narrow staircase and finds a corridor lined with converted storage compartments, each one a makeshift cell. Through small windows, she sees them, all 20 children from her foundation. Jin-soo, Soo-jin, Min-soo, all the others. They're alive but terrified, some sleeping fitfully, others crying quietly. Tanesha's heart races with hope. She moves to the first lock, pulling out her pick tools. She's focused entirely on freeing the children when she hears it, slow, deliberate clapping. She turns to see Dr. Sarah Chen standing at the end of the corridor, flanked by 2 armed guards. Chen holds a handgun pointed at Tanesha's chest. "I had a bet with Marcus," Chen says, her voice heavy with something that might be regret. "I told him you'd make it inside within 24 hours. He said 48. Looks like I win." The children see Tanesha through the windows and start crying out, "Miss Tanesha. Save us." But Tanesha can't move. She's trapped between the children she came to save and the woman she trusted. "Why?" Tanesha asks, her voice barely a whisper. Chen's expression hardens. "Because 7 years ago, you testified against the man who saved my brother from a trafficking ring in Thailand. My brother owed Marcus Voss his life. So now, I owe Marcus yours." Tanesha is dragged to the yacht's upper deck, cable-tied and disarmed. The sun is rising over the East Sea, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. And there, standing at the railing in an immaculate white suit, is Marcus Voss. He's in his late 50s, silver-haired, distinguished-looking. More like a wealthy businessman than a crime lord. But his eyes are dead, the eyes of a man who has stared into the abyss and found it staring back. "Tanesha Williams," he says warmly, as if greeting an old friend. "You're even more resourceful than I remembered from the trial. I've been watching your journey these past 6 months. Building a foundation for orphans? Quite poetic, considering you made my son an orphan by proxy before killing him." He shows her a wall of monitors displaying live feeds, Torres and Mitchell captured on the supply boat, surrounded by mercenaries, Park in his Interpol cell, now on a ventilator as the poison advances, the children below decks, and a crowd of news crews gathering outside the Seoul courthouse where Judge Kwon is about to announce Park's trial date. "I'm going to make you an offer," Voss says, pouring 2 glasses of expensive bourbon. "Work for me. Use your skills, your foundation's infrastructure, your connections to law enforcement. Help me build an empire. You'll save everyone you love." Park gets the antidote. The children go free. Your name gets cleared. All it costs is your soul. Tanesha stares at him. "And if I refuse?" Voss smiles. "Then everyone dies." Park's heart stops. The children are sold into the very trafficking networks you spent your life fighting. Your friends Mitchell and Torres are executed. And you? You watch it all happen before I put a bullet in your head. He gives her 1 hour to decide. Locked in a luxurious guest cabin, Tanesha sits in silence, her mind racing. She thinks back to Atlanta, to the faces of the 19 women and children they rescued from Voss's trafficking operation, their hollow eyes, their broken bodies, their shattered spirits. She remembers the 12 victims who didn't survive, whose bodies were found in shipping containers in the Atlanta port. She remembers the trial, giving her testimony, watching Voss show no emotion as victim after victim described their horrors. She remembers Michael Voss, the 19-year-old boy, killed in the raid. She'd been the one who called in the tactical team, but she hadn't pulled the trigger. Does that absolve her? Does intention matter when the result is a dead boy and a father consumed by revenge? She realizes Voss's offer is a trap regardless of her answer. If she accepts, she becomes the architect of the very evil she spent her life fighting. Her foundation becomes a front for trafficking, her skills used to enslave rather than free. If she refuses, everyone she loves dies, and Voss's operation continues without her. There's no right choice. But then she remembers something Park once told her in part 1, the dragon doesn't choose between bad options. The dragon creates a third option where the enemy burns. She stands and begins examining the cabin systematically, looking for weaknesses, testing the window locks, studying the ventilation system. If she can't win Voss's game, she'll break the game itself. And she knows exactly how. Dr. Chen enters Tanesha's cabin carrying a tray of food and water. For a long moment, they sit in heavy silence. Two women who were friends, now enemies. Did you ever care about those kids? Tanesha asks quietly. Or was it all an act? Chen's composure cracks. Her hands tremble as she sets down the tray. Every single day, she whispers. That's what made it so hard. Watching them trust me. Watching them love me. Knowing I was going to betray them. She explains the truth. Her younger brother, Chen was kidnapped by a trafficking ring in Thailand 8 years ago. Marcus Voss, operating internationally at the time, rescued him during a rival gang war. Wei owed Voss his life. When Voss went to prison because of Tanesha's testimony, Wei's debt became Chen's debt. Family is everything in our culture, Chen says, tears forming. When Voss was released and called in the debt, I had no choice. My brother's life for yours. Tanesha sees the opening. Then help me save both. Your brother's debt to Voss, was it financial? Operational? What? Chen explains. Voss wants to use Chen's brother's technology company to launder money and create encrypted communication systems for his new trafficking empire. If Voss dies, the debt dies with him, Tanesha says. Help me. Sabotage the yacht's security systems for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Get the children to the lifeboats. Your brother goes free. The children go free. You go free. Chen wrestles with the decision, decades of family obligation versus 6 months of genuine love for the children. Finally, she makes her choice. 10 minutes. That's all I can give you. And then you have to kill him. You have to end this. Tanesha nods. I will. Chen disables the security cameras and unlocks the children's compartments remotely. An alarm blares. 10 minutes until the backup systems activate and Voss realizes what's happening. Tanesha races through the yacht's corridors, moving with purpose and precision. She reaches the children's holding area and begins herding them toward the lifeboat deck. Jin-soo, brave little Jin-soo, helps organize the younger children, keeping them quiet and moving. But there are 20 children and only 8 lifeboats. Each lifeboat requires manual deployment, pulling safety pins, releasing hydraulic locks, lowering them to the water. Tanesha gets the first 2 boats away just as Voss's voice booms over the intercom. Tanesha, you disappoint me. I gave you a choice, and you chose chaos. Very well. Let's see how far you get. Steel security doors begin slamming shut throughout the yacht, compartmentalizing each section. Tanesha is separated from half the children. She has 4 minutes left, 10 children still trapped on the other side of a sealed bulkhead, and Voss's mercenaries closing in. She fights like a demon, using captured weapons, improvised tools, her own hands. She takes down guards with brutal efficiency, each movement designed to incapacitate quickly. She reaches the sealed door and uses a guard's access card to override it. The door groans open. She gathers the remaining children and runs for the lifeboats. 3 minutes. 2 boats left. She loads the children, releases the boats, and watches them descend toward the dark water. But one child is missing. Jin-soo. She turns and sees Voss standing in the bridge doorway, holding Jin-soo by the collar, a gun pressed to the boy's temple. Voss drags Jin-soo to the bridge, forcing Tanesha to follow. The bridge is filled with monitors showing a split-screen nightmare. On the left, Park in his Interpol cell, now barely breathing, machines keeping him alive. On the right, the children in lifeboats floating in the ocean. In the center, Min-hee still bound in a holding room. Voss has gathered his final hand. "This is your last chance," Voss announces. His voice is broadcast live. Tanesha sees news crews on the monitors, realizes this is being streamed to the world. Option A, you shoot Park through this live feed. I have a sniper in his cell. On your command, he dies. But I let all the children go free, and I release Min-hee. Option B, you do nothing. Park dies from the poison in 10 minutes anyway. But I kill Jin-soo right now, then hunt down every lifeboat and kill all the children one by one. Option C, you confess. Right now, live to the world, that you fabricated the evidence against Park in the crew's case. That you planted the video. That you're a terrorist who bombed the port. Destroy your reputation. Destroy Park's legacy. Everyone lives, but you both rot in prison for the rest of your lives. A countdown timer appears, 60 seconds. Tanesha looks at Park's face on the monitor, his eyes barely open, machines breathing for him. She looks at Jin-soo, terrified but trying to be brave. She looks at the children in the lifeboats, at Min-hee bound and gagged. And then she sees Park's finger moving weakly on the hospital bed. Tapping. Morse code. She reads the message, trust. Queen. Plan. And suddenly, she understands. Park knows her. He's telling her to do what she does best, improvise. The Queen smiles. Tanesha takes a deep breath and chooses option C, I'll confess. But I do it my way. No script. Voss nods, intrigued. The cameras go live. Tanesha begins. My name is Tanesha Williams, and I need to tell you the truth about the corruption destroying soul from within. But she's not confessing to her own crimes. She's using the coded language she and Park developed during their late-night strategy sessions in Part 1, phrases that mean nothing to Voss but everything to Park's network. She describes how Park taught me to infiltrate the system through the eastern ventilation shaft at 3 p.m. Code for Mitchell and Torres to breach from the east side of the yacht at 3 p.m. exactly. She mentions the evidence I planted in Judge Kwan's office on the third Thursday, file 7735, the exact coordinates for Agent Sarah Park to raid Kwan's courthouse and the file numbers of the incriminating evidence. She talks about transferring offshore accounts from Cayman to North Korea, the access codes to Voss's financial empire that Yuki can use. Park, watching from his hospital bed with the last of his strength, understands immediately. He signals to Dae-young, who's been hiding in the hospital disguised as a janitor. Dae-young activates Protocol Dragon's Breath, the nuclear option. Across Seoul, chaos erupts, police raids on corrupt officials, financial records leaked to the press, Judge Kwan's connections exposed, Park's loyalists moving into position. And Voss, listening to Tanesha's confession, doesn't realize she's just declared war in a language only her allies understand. The Queen has turned her surrender into a battle cry. The yacht erupts into coordinated chaos. At exactly 3 p.m., Mitchell and Torres breach from the supply boat with explosives, blowing a hole in the yacht's hull. Water begins pouring into the lower decks. Agent Sarah Park leads a simultaneous raid on Judge Kwan's office, finding evidence of his conspiracy with Voss and his role in the journalist's murder years ago. Kwan is arrested live on television. Park's loyalists, using the chaos from Protocol Dragon's Breath, storm the Interpol building and extract Park from his cell with help from honest agents who've been waiting for proof of the conspiracy. They rush him to Dr. Yoon, who administers an experimental counter-toxin she's been developing. Min-hee, who's stowed away on one of the rescue helicopters, rappels down to the yacht with a team of Park's elite guards. The battle on the yacht is brutal. Tanesha uses the distraction to attack Voss directly, disarming him and engaging in vicious hand-to-hand combat. Voss is skilled, trained in military combat, but Tanesha fights with the fury of a woman protecting her family. They crash through the bridge windows onto the deck below. Chen appears, positioning herself between Voss's mercenaries and the escaping children. She holds them off with a stolen assault rifle, buying precious seconds. She takes 3 bullets but keeps firing until the children are safely in the helicopters. As the yacht lists from the explosion damage and water floods the lower decks, Voss activates the self-destruct sequence. 3 minutes until total destruction. Tanesha gets the last of the children into helicopters, then runs back for Chen, dragging her toward the evacuation point. Tell Wei. I'm sorry, Chen whispers, blood on her lips. Tell the children. I loved them. She dies in Tanesha's arms. Tanesha reaches the main deck as the yacht tilts dangerously, taking on water from multiple breaches. Voss is there, wounded and cornered, clinging to the railing as the ship begins its final death spiral. Behind Tanesha, a rescue helicopter hovers. Park is inside, pale and weak but conscious, reaching out his hand for her. She has seconds to climb the rope ladder to safety. But Voss is slipping, his hand grabbing her ankle, pulling her down toward the churning water below. She could kick him off. Let him fall. End it. Or she could try to save him. Try to break the cycle of revenge. Park shouts from the helicopter, leave him. It's over. Come home. But Tanesha thinks about cycles of revenge. About Michael Voss dying in the raid 7 years ago, about Marcus becoming a monster because of grief, about how killing him might create another enemy in another 7 years. Someone who'll come for her children, her foundation, her family. She grabs Voss's wrist and starts pulling him toward the helicopter rope. Voss looks at her with genuine confusion, his eyes searching hers. Why? He gasps. After everything I did, why would you save me? Tanesha meets his gaze, because I'm not you. Because I choose to break the cycle. Because mercy is how we win. They're 3 feet from the rope when Voss does something unexpected. He lets go. You think you're saving me, he laughs bitterly, tears mixing with seawater on his face. You're just prolonging your own guilt. My son is dead because of you. That truth never changes. Neither does my hate. He falls backward into the flames and water. Tanesha screams, reaching for him, but Park's strong hand grabs her wrist and pulls her into the helicopter as the yacht explodes in a massive fireball that lights up the sea for miles. 3 months later. Seoul has transformed. Judge Kwan sits in prison, awaiting trial for conspiracy, corruption, and accessory to murder spanning decades. The evidence Dr. Chen left behind, her insurance policy, a detailed record of everything she witnessed, exposed the entire network, leading to arrests across 3 countries. Park is fully exonerated, his business empire restored and legitimized. The poison left him weakened, requiring physical therapy, but he's recovering. The dragon lives. The 20 children are safe, back at the rebuilt foundation, which now has military-grade security overseen by Chen himself, Dr. Chen's brother, who insisted on protecting the children his sister died saving. A bronze plaque in the Foundation's garden honors Dr. Sarah Chen, who chose love over loyalty, children over fear, and redemption over survival. But Tanesha hasn't fully returned. She took a brief leave, traveling to Atlanta to visit 3 graves, Michael Voss, Marcus Voss, whose body was recovered from the ocean, and the memorial for the 12 trafficking victims who didn't survive Voss's operation years ago. She places flowers on all 3 and stands in silence, carrying the weight of choices made and lives lost. Agent Rodriguez finds her there. You saved 20 kids and stopped an international trafficking ring. You exposed judicial corruption. You're a hero. Tanesha shakes her head. I created Marcus Voss when I testified 7 years ago. Heroes don't create monsters. Rodriguez puts a hand on her shoulder. You didn't create him. You held him accountable. His choices made him a monster. Your choices made you a hero. There's a difference. Tanesha returns to Seoul. The children run to greet her when she enters the Foundation, Jin-soo leading the charge. They tackle her with hugs, laughing and crying. She holds them close, these beautiful souls who survived hell because she refused to give up. Park watches from the doorway, leaning on a cane but standing tall. That evening, on the same rooftop where this story began, Park recreates the interrupted dinner. Candles. Music. The Seoul skyline glittering below. But this time, there are no snipers. No threats. Just 2 people who walked through fire and survived. Park pulls out the ring box, the same one that fell during the attack, now polished and pristine. He doesn't kneel, his leg won't allow it yet. But he looks into her eyes with a depth of emotion that needs no words. Tanesha Williams. You saved my life. You saved my city. You became a queen when I couldn't be a king. Now let me spend the rest of my life protecting the woman who protected everyone else. Tanesha looks at the ring, then at the Foundation below where the children sleep safely. She looks at Park, this man who never gave up on her, who trusted her even when the world called her a terrorist. She thinks about Chen's sacrifice, about Voss's fall, about the cycles of violence and mercy. Yes, she says softly. But on one condition. Park smiles. Anything. We build something permanent. Not just an empire or a foundation. We build a future where children don't become orphans, where justice doesn't create monsters, where power protects instead of destroys. Park slides the ring onto her finger. The dragon and his queen. Forever. As they kiss, Tanesha's eyes automatically scan the rooftops, the windows, the shadows. Old habits. Park notices and gently turns her face back to his. You can let your guard down now. Tanesha smiles, but her truth is softer. The price of protecting what we love is eternal vigilance. I'll never let my guard down again. But that's okay. Because neither will you. They toast to survival, to love, to the beautiful burden of protecting what matters most. The queen has claimed her crown. The dragon has reclaimed his throne. And Seoul sleeps safely because 2 warriors chose to build instead of destroy. The story ends not with peace, but with purpose. Not with rest, but with readiness. Because some battles never truly end, they just transform into the daily choice to keep fighting for what's worth saving. This story teaches us that justice is never simple and victory is never final. Tanesha learned that every action ripples through time, that saving someone can plant seeds of future conflict, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is keep fighting even when you're not sure you deserve to win. She didn't get a fairy tale ending, she got something better. The truth about what it means to be a protector. It means you carry the weight forever. It means you don't stop, even when you're tired. It means you choose to keep building, even knowing it might burn down again. Dr. Chen showed us that redemption is possible even in the final moments, that choosing love over fear can cost you everything, and that sometimes the greatest act of loyalty is betrayal, betraying the monsters to save the innocent. And Park taught us that true strength isn't just power, it's trusting someone else to carry the burden when you can't. If you loved this journey from the penthouse to the flames and back again, smash that like button, it helps more than you know. Who's the real hero here? Tanesha, who kept fighting despite her guilt, Dr. Chen, who chose redemption at the cost of her life, or Park, who trusted his queen even when the world called her a terrorist? Drop your answer in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear a story about second chances, impossible choices, and the price we pay for protecting what we love. Part 3. Well, that depends on whether you think some stories should end, or if the fight is never really over. What do you want to see? The dragon and queen's empire? The children grown up seeking revenge? Or maybe a new threat from Chen Wei's world? Let me know in the comments. Remember, sometimes the crown chooses you. What matters is what you do when you wear it. Thanks for watching.